Are you saying you faked with me?
Yeah.
Wrong. Now you're single.
What do you know about sexual relations?
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
You're listening to the Come With Us podcast, talking the good, the kinky, and the ugly. Here are your hosts, Beth and Aaron.
Hello, 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 all you sexy holes and poles. Oh my goodness. Have you ever heard about an extended massive orgasm? Yeah, you heard me right. I'm talking extended massive orgasm, like for an hour. Can you imagine? I'm not yanking your chain, but if I were, could you turn it into an extended massive orgasm? That's what we're going to try and teach you today. We are so excited, and frankly, our guest probably could do that or help all of us get to that extended massive orgasm and teach us all sorts of stuff about pleasure. We are so excited to have Dr. Steve Bodansky, who's the author of at least 14 books, including Instant Orgasm, Massive Extended Orgasm, and his latest, Self-Pleasure, Delving into Happiness and Ourselves. He is on our show today, so welcome to Come With Us podcast, where we know that sexy stuff matters just as much as the lovey-dovey stuff. We're here to help you get all the pleasure you deserve. I'm Beth Darling, the author of 5 Kinds of Intimacy, How to Keep Your Love Alive. And if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please go to BethDarling.com and you can learn more and order it today. Hopefully that, along with extended massive orgasms, can totally transform your whole life for the better. So, all right now, Aaron, are you as excited as I am about extended massive orgasms?
I mean, you are way more excited than I am, just because, again, I'm Captain Practicality, and an hour.
And skeptical.
No, not even skeptical. I mean, there's certain, teachings and stuff like that I understand can make that kind of stuff happen. But I'm thinking about an hour of my time just for that, like when there's other stuff to do. I don't have that kind of time in my life. I wish I did. I was thinking about that earlier today. I literally driving on the freeway today. I was sitting there thinking about it because I was reading through Reddit stuff, and somebody was talking about how they were, they have different theme nights each week with their significant other for different types of sexy fun that they have and stuff like that. And like one of them, the way they were breaking it down was like, that's like a 2.5 hour process of like just set up, then a little bit of fun, and then tear down. How in the hell do you have time to do that in your real life? Because I get maybe an hour of like time to breathe every day.
I don't know, but I think pleasure, and I think this is where Dr. Steve and I are going to agree. Pleasure is really one of the most fundamental parts of life, I think. So, all right, well, wait, before we give Dr. Steve a chance to step up, I've got to tell you about who he is and how he got here. Let me just tell you just a little bit about him. So he and his wife, Vera, have been teaching sensuality for almost 40-something years. Steve received, I love this, a master's in molecular genetics at SUNY Albany, and then a doctorate at Moore University in sensuality with an emphasis on female orgasm. Since then, he's been teaching and coaching people to expand their orgasmic potential and to improve their relationships. He's written numerous books, as I said, and including 2 bestsellers, Extended Massive Orgasms and The Illustrated Guide to Massive Orgasms, Extended Massive Orgasms. So, Steve, it's really a delight to welcome you to the show. I can't thank you enough for being here. I have to tell you that for years, I've already had 2 of your books on my bookshelf. I just couldn't believe when I reached out to you and you said yes to being here. And I was just like, oh, yes, bring it on. So thank you. And welcome to the show.
Thank you and welcome.
Oh, okay. So goodness, I got to say, how do you get a PhD in basically female orgasm? I'm thinking that's every man's, fantasy come true.
Well, it wasn't like how I grew up. When I grew up, I didn't say I want to get a doctorate in sensuality and I want to be a cowboy or, fireman, just like everybody else. Yeah.
I think this is way better, I hope.
I think so.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay.
I don't know. We just had the rodeo down here. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
life
sure.
life takes funny turns and twists, and
Wow.
it kind of I was like a normal guy. I was married. I got to medical school for a couple of years in Italy. My wife, but she wanted to become a rock star or a music star. And somebody in Italy said she knows somebody. So we came back to the United States. And I was there to avoid the Vietnam War.
Mm.
And anyhow, then we hit all these weird things that she almost made it. But then the rug we pulled under her. And she just went kind of crazy.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
So she locked me out of the apartment. For 2 blocks, I was working as a technologist at Downstate Medical School in Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
And 2 blocks from where I was this purple house that I passed every day to walk, because I walked to work from where I lived. And I need a place to stay. And there was a bulletin board at the medical school. And it said, alternate lifestyle, rooms available. So I kind of ignored the alternate lifestyle and said, rooms available 2 blocks from here. I'll check it out. And it turned out to be a Morehouse. I don't know if you've heard of a Morehouse. Probably, maybe not.
No, tell us about it.
I will. Anyhow, so I moved in, and the first night I'm there, there's only one couple there. Usually Morehouses have a whole bunch of people who live in communally. And there's a couple there, and some guy shows up from California, and they're upstairs, and the 3 of them are having sex together, and I'm like freaking out downstairs. What the hell have I gotten myself into? It's a threesome there.
Yeah.
It was 1973.
Wow.
And so anyhow, my wife was back up to Buffalo to see her parents, and they institutionalized her. And they called me like 3 days later to say, if I come up there, and she'll be released under my care or custody, whatever you call it.
Wow.
So she came back. So I left the Morehouse and moved back into the apartment with her. And they teach courses at this place. It's based in California mostly, but they had houses all around the country at the time.
Wow.
So it's only like a couple, maybe 3 houses left now. One in Hawaii, one in Oakland, and one in San Francisco. And a couple other affiliated houses, but there's only 3 more houses, maybe one in Atlanta.
And they basically live like a commune, including
They live like a
sexual.
commune. They teach courses on sex. And in 1976, they got accredited by California to become a university.
Wow.
So it became Moore University.
Interesting.
So anyhow, I took a couple of courses. My wife wasn't interested because she's on these like tranquilizers, so she wasn't really feeling anything much. So,
and this was your wife before Vera. Vera is the one that you wrote all the books with, right? Okay.
So she goes back to her parents. I'm in this apartment by myself, so I moved back into the Morehouse the next day. And listen, there's about 8-10 people living in the house. It's a lot more fun. Some cute girls there and a couple of couples.
Were you comfortable just diving into all the sexy right away?
Well, I wasn't. That first night freaked me out. But then when we did the groups and the courses, I got more used to it. I understood. I love the course. This is called a Basic Sensuality course. I love the course. So anyhow, I met another girl, a young girl, when I in Brooklyn, and we became like a couple. And she actually went to Harper University. She was actually in high school when I met her. I was 24 and she was 17.
Oh.
So she goes, they had a course called a man-woman course. And they said, well, what do you want? What are your goals? I said, well, I'd like to have a woman in my life. She says, well, anybody in particular? I said, well, either my wife or this new girl I met over the summer. So I said, well, give them a call and see if they'll come down. So my wife wasn't interested, ex-wife, she was still my wife then. But this other girl was interested. So she came down and she left school and she moved in with me.
Wow. Which would not be okay in this day and age, I have to say, in terms of the age difference. So, yeah, kind of different.
But
Wow.
I knew her parents. The parents liked me. I had dinner over there.
Yeah, it was knowing, full consensual. All right. So what? Let's like. Then
anyhow, about since 1974 by then, and then we went to actually. She didn't want to stay there either, so we moved out, and I lived in Brooklyn for a while. And I spent about night school and worked, and she did undergrad. Then we went to University of Albany. That's where I was in the doctoral program, but I got my master's, and she got her bachelor's. And then we went out to California a number of times. And 1979, we went out, took a long, 3 months trip across the country together.
Oh my goodness.
Guatemala. It was a great trip. Anyhow.
So how did you meet? How did you end up meeting Vera and get into this?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Almost there.
Okay.
So this is 1979, and she got into a medical school. So she leaves me and goes to medical school, and I'm invited to move into this Morehouse in Lafayette, Moore University of Morehouse.
Uh-huh.
And Vera's taken a course there in doing the demonstration for an hour demonstration. And it's not something we recommend you do it, every day or anything, but it's something that, hey, I have this under my hat. I can do this. So anyhow, it's a lot of training. And there was this course at the time where they had everybody, all the women had to get off every day. And then it was 3 times a day the next week. And then the next week it was 6 times a day. And then it was 100 times in a week. And
my gosh. I
think Vera was the only woman who got up 100 times that week. And we had this thing called the technicians program where not everybody, but a lot of people were technicians. So they learned how to produce the orgasm, or they gave the orgasm to the person, men and women. So men can go to a woman technician, or a woman can go to a man technician. And
I like that term, technician. Yeah.
That's better than prostitute.
Yeah.
So I became Vera's favorite technician.
Oh, wow.
She hadn't moved in yet, but she was living there while she's doing this intensive course.
Mm-hmm. So could you get her to orgasm for an hour?
Well, at this time, the tricks that we were selling then, the technicians were selling, were 15 minutes usually.
Okay.
But she was training to get off for an hour, and with her, she was married then. She had 2 sets of twins.
Wow.
They were about 14 and 15 at the time, and a husband. But her husband was like younger women, so they broke up after a while. But anyhow, she gets certified in 1980, and it's I think 1980, and in order to get certified for an hour, you have to do a 3-hour workup. You have to get off at 3 hours.
Oh
so
my God.
I wasn't part of that yet.
Wow.
But
goals.
We did some things more than 15 minutes. We did some hour-long things along the way too while she was training.
Okay, so how can you give our audience some idea? What do they need to know about female anatomy, a clitoris, a pussy, to even think about becoming a technician?
They have to look at a woman as a person, as a not just the clitoris and not just the pussy, the whole person, and see where they're at, and learn how to communicate well, and not expect the person's going to be able to get off for an hour the first time you do it.
Uh-huh.
And the best way to train, actually, if you're a woman, is to self-pleasure first, to find out how you like it. Do experimental things on your touches on your body to find out what you prefer and what's the best strokes you like and how you like it. And then for a man, either to learn how to do that by reading our books or watching our video, and mostly by asking questions to the woman when he's pleasuring her, and not diving right into the clitoris right away, starting from her head, and talking to her and then moving around her whole body and kind of playing with her. So if she pulls away, you want to push her further than she wants to go. If she's coming towards you, then you can reel her in like a fish, right?
Okay, so can you talk about that? I know I read it in, now I'm confused which book I've read things in, but yeah, that push-pull. What do you mean by that? So when she says no, she's not interested.
Resisting your advances, then you can say, "Oh, please, please," beg her,
Yeah.
Like Leonard Cohen says, "I beg you on my knees,"
Yeah, I say, sometimes there's sexy begging, but usually desperate begging is not sexy.
You can try anything,
Mm-hmm.
But the best way is to say, "Okay, maybe you're not ready for this yet, maybe I'll just do it for 30 seconds at first, just let me give you one stroke." We used to have sessions with people later on when I became certified in doing this, where people sign up for these intense courses, and maybe first a few sessions, you just give them one stroke.
Wow.
And you have to feel the stroke as much as you can, because one of the most important things in coming for an hour is learning how to get off from the first stroke.
Yeah. Well, that's your instant orgasm book. And so I guess I'm a little confused though. So, most of us have heard something about that, the Masters and Johnson, the 4 stages of orgasm,
right.
Getting arousal and whatever and stuff. But how does an instant orgasm play into that? Like, are you talking about orgasm really being contractions for an hour?
Yeah, contractions for an hour. Now, the contractions may not be as strong in the beginning. They get stronger usually as you go along. But it's about putting your attention on somebody and using your hands. It's manual stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
Once a person can get off manual stimulation, then they'll probably be able to get off better with intercourse and with oral stimulation too.
Mm-hmm.
But the hands are the most precise instruments we have, and they feel the most. I mean, you wouldn't want to read Braille with your penis.
I'm just picturing somebody in an elevator. I'm sorry, like pulling out their cock to figure out. Sorry, that was my own little crazy visual. Yeah, that would be funny.
But your mouth has a lot of nerve endings too. But your hand is even better than your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you also can see what you're doing when using your hands. When using your mouth, you can't really see very much. You don't know where you are, and there's different. It's really good to know the different parts of the clitoris.
Mm-hmm.
The head of the clitoris, the left side, the right side, the upper quadrant, the lower quadrant. So
I've never quite understood that, because it seems to me that the clitoris, I guess most of us are just used to like the glands, right? The head of it.
Yeah.
So are you talking about the left quadrant of the head?
Yes.
Isn't that a teeny, like, how do you really
It depends.
do that?
I mean, in some women, it's really teeny, and you can't really even get an upper quadrant because the whole clitoris is just like small. And some women have bigger clitorises. But it kind of is a technique again in our illustrated guide really shows how to get into that little crevice there and how to stroke it and to do it very lightly and gently.
Okay. Yeah. And I noticed pulling back the hood, I know, was key. And I think maybe a lot of people, I think a lot of my partners have not really known that trick. And
that's the most difficult part for guys to learn is how to pull back the hood.
Yeah. Do you know how to do that, Aaron?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good for you. How did you
Like I
figure
told
it
you.
out?
Well, like I told you, when my wife and I were first dating, I mean, we were still in college and we lived 3.5 hours apart. So when I was out in little nowhere towns of Texas that didn't have a big radio signal, I had podcasts. And what kind of podcasts did I have? I had some podcasts about sex and pleasing my girlfriend at the time because I wanted to be better at it.
Wow.
So I started trying to learn, and that was how I did. I mean, we did that for 2 years, and I was driving every other week. And so God knows how many actual episodes I went through and how many different topics I researched or had, fed to me through my ears and stuff like that. So,
the best way to pull back the hood is with one hand, and say the stroking hand and your thumb is pulling back the hood. Either your left hand or right hand, depending. But
so is it like the fingernail part of your thumb that are you? Because if you're talking about your stroking fingers,
the stroking fingers is your index and middle finger.
Right. So if the pad of your thumb is holding back the clit hood, how do you get the other finger stroking?
Kind of like this. Kind of like that.
Okay, Aaron, you want to describe that for people who are not watching on YouTube because I can't.
Basically, God, you're the one who has a giant puppet of it, but you're.
But I can't figure out my hands, and quite frankly, I have never stroked a clit other than my own. So I'm. Well,
I mean, your finger. If you hold your hand at a right angle, and then you close it to probably about a 15-degree angle, you can see that your fingertips, especially your first and second finger, way outstretch your thumb. Or at least they should.
Yeah.
Unless you've got really, really insanely long thumbs. So if you use your thumb to pull back, then your fingertips, these two fingers, will reach all the way down there and you won't have a problem. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you're folding your thumb
bending your
under.
fingers over. You're going from the top.
Gotcha.
Not from underneath.
Also, so in the beginning, if a guy's having a little trouble doing that, they can use their other hand, kind of like the palm of their hand, and just pull it back with their left hand or the other hand, wherever the left hand would use the right hand to pull it back.
Okay. How do they know when they've pulled it back far enough?
Well, they'll see the whole clitoris.
Okay.
And once you start stroking it, the clitoris usually engorges, and the hood stays back. So you don't have to keep doing that the whole time, even though it feels good to keep your finger there. But you don't have to keep, pressing so hard.
Okay.
Because the clitoris gets kind of comes out of like a turtle out of its shell,
Yeah, I say. I mean, again, the clitoris starts just the same as a penis, so it does the same sort of engorgement. And if it's not engorging, you probably should talk some more. Yeah. How should people talk? We've done this before. Like, I think that people should, that men should talk to their partner's pussies and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the beginning, you want to train each other. Once you train each other, then you can add in more dialogue. Talking nasty or different things. But in the beginning, it's really, I mean, you can do that anyhow, but it's important. So if you're the guy who's doing it, you want to safe port the woman. So, if there's a phone rings, you'll say, the phone's ringing, but you're going to let it ring. Somebody's knocking on the door. It says, well, I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to go check the door, or we're going to ignore that. So you tell the person what's going on. Tell them, like, I'm going to put my hand on you now. I'm going to and tell them what you're going to do. I'm going to take a little lubricant. I'm going to rub it on your perineum or your labia. Play with your labia for a while. So you keep telling them what you're going to do. And you take your finger off. You say, I'm going to take my hand off now. So the person feels safe. And the goal is for the woman is to surrender. And the goal for the person who's getting done, it could be the guy getting done too, but for the woman getting done is to surrender, and the person who's doing it is to take control. Take control by safe porting the person, telling them what you're going to do, and then following through with what you're doing. And then And then you want to ask them questions where they can answer with a yes or a no.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like that. Not complicated.
Not
Yeah.
simple. They want to make it simple for them as possible. And
Mhm.
you don't want to ask questions, do you like this? Because then they'll hedge their bet.
Yeah, I like that. You talked about winning questions and trying to avoid those. And I think that's very important. Like, you're not trying to, ask how your performance is or trying to get gold stars, because that's not
once you
helpful.
get good, you can tell them like what you're feeling. I can feel the contraction. I can feel you. I see you get, even in the beginning, you can say, you're wet, you're engorging now.
Mhm.
Give them feedback what's happening in their body, because they don't, not everybody knows what's going on unless they're more trained.
Right. Well, and I think so many women that I know, at least, are so uncomfortable with their own pussies that they're, frankly, the idea of having their legs splayed and somebody looking at them in full light is pretty much terrifying. So, how do you suggest that men help women overcome this or deal with it?
I mean, usually the women that come to me usually, pay us money. So
Yeah.
they want to get their money's worth. You want to get your money's worth, don't you?
Yeah.
But in general, that's where the push-pull comes in. You don't want to force them to do it. You want to be playful and have fun. Make it a fun thing. And so give them reasons why they probably shouldn't do it, and then kind of twist it on them and say, well, maybe that's not so true. Maybe, and give them a reason why really they should. So you keep playing with their head until they surrender their body.
Okay. I like that.
Be playful, be curious. You can say, okay, maybe we'll start with your thigh then. Well, you can wear your panties. I'll just touch your thigh for, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And you can tell me, the person receiving the pleasure, to train the person doing it, tells them something they like, and then gives them a request, like, would you do it faster? Would you do it harder? Would you do it slower? Would you, use more of your hand or whatever, more, use different, take a break, whatever. Yeah. Use more lubricant. Okay.
Well,
and then as soon as they do that, then you follow the instruction, and then if they haven't gotten all the way, then you say, oh, that's really great. You start again from step one. I'm glad you're listening to what I ask, and then ask for, okay, you do it a little faster. So it's not fast, and keep doing it until you get the exact speed you like, and the exact, and that's why self-pleasuring is so important, because you'll learn how you like it.
Okay. I like that. And you also, well, we'll have to break now, but next week I want to follow up, because I know you talked about that there's some strokes that are better and worse, for pleasuring a woman. And I think that's pretty important. And then I want to talk also about, your new book, all the self-pleasure and stuff. And you really sort of elevate self-pleasure, even equating it to as pleasurable as with a partner. I mean, obviously apples and oranges, but that really can be intensely rewarding. And I think that that's an important thing that I'd like to learn more about, and appreciating that. So
look forward to it.
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you. It is, I don't know. I'm turned on. Aaron, I can't believe you can spend an hour. Like, I could spend an hour having fun. And that's my new goal now. I don't know how I'll get there, but I'm going to try. All right. For everybody out there, again, you can find much more about Steve at his website. It's extendedmassiveorgasm.com. It's pretty easy to remember. So Extended Massive Orgasm, New Relationship Goals. You can find all of his books and writings and things there. So,
and a video too.
Oh, videos. Oh, very cool.
One video.
Oh, one video. Okay.
You're getting off for an hour.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe I didn't find that before this, because I definitely would have watched it. So, all right. Well, thank you, Steve Bodansky. I appreciate you so much. And we will be back next week to follow up more again on the extended massive orgasm and how to make self-pleasure something that is not just something you're settling for, but something that you look forward to and that adds joy and pleasure and goodness to your life. So thanks for joining us for Come With Us podcast, where you get the bare naked truth about love, sex, and relationships. Aaron and I are so glad to be with you on this sexy journey. And we know sexy stuff matters. So we're so glad that you're coming with us. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Come With Us podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Come With Us Podcast and send in your questions, comments, and confessions to comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Until next time, keep it fun, flirty, and naughty.